Hi there. Welcome to Celebrate Creating. This is our official first video, and today we are going to make a Faux Faberge egg. I'm sorry, a Faux Faberge egg, also known as a Faux Faberge egg. Now we're not making this exact egg, but we're making an egg. This is just an example. So, we're going to need felting foam. We are going to need core wool, some color to go over the core wool. This is roving. And by the way, I get all my supplies at livingfelt.com. They are awesome, and they will explain on the site the wools, the needles, everything you need. But just a quickie on the wool. The roving here, all the strands go one direction. And the core wool is just basic undyed wool with all the strands going all the way, like a little fuzzy blanket here. And this is great for the inside of projects. It's also less expensive, so you don't waste money, and it felts really well. The roving doesn't felt as easily as the core wool, but it still will felt nicely. And if you want to get MC1 bats at Living Felt, they come in all kinds of colors, and they're great for small projects, and they felt really easily. We're going to need some sharp scissors, possibly some pins. I bought, for possible trim, this sort of a cord, has a little bits of gold in it. It does split at the end. We'll see, you know, if that's going to work. Anything goes. You can get whatever you want to decorate your egg. I've got a thing of beads. Michael's 40% off coupon. Yeah, woo! Alrighty, and we're also going to need our felting needles. I have an array of needles here, and I have a 3-inch doll needle. Doesn't matter if it's a doll needle, just get a long needle. If we're going to sew some beads, we need to be able to poke through our egg. We have a needle for probably a 36 or 38, and I'll have to check on that, for our dense felting. And then for surface, I usually use a 40 or a 42. And you'll see all this if you go to Living Felt or wherever you want to go. They will explain the needles, and use what you have. We can make it work. But if you want to make it easier, I'd get a needle for dense felting and a needle for finishing. And that's it for starters. So let's get started. Okay, we're back. We are going to be making a basic egg shape. We're going to take some of our core wool. There's different ways you can do this. This is the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to layer about 5 pieces of wool, just about the size of my hand here. They do not have to be perfect. 2, 3, 4, and one more. All right, we got a nice little pile here. And what we want to do, because we don't want to have to felt until the cows come home, because a lot of us don't have cows, and that's a long time of felting, we are going to roll the wool really tight. I'm rolling it really tight right here. Can you see that? Down the center. Then I'm going to turn the end in just a little bit, and I'm going to continue rolling. I'm going to do that one more time. All right. What if I did it this way? I'll tell you what. Why don't I try this way so you can see it better? Okay, I'm going to roll really tight right down the center. Okay, putting my weight there with my hands, roll in the end, actually fold in the end, and keep rolling. Fold in the end, fold in the end, and roll. Okay, I'm going to take my dense needle felting needle, and I'm going to give it a few pokes right here. Okay, watch the fingers. These are really sharp, FYI. They are really sharp. Now, turn it and see, okay, haven't gotten this end. I'm going to fold that over. It's going to take a few pokes here. Go ahead and fold this end. And you know what? Seriously, we're just going to be felting. And it is eventually all going to stay. But if we can get some of that air out of the wool as we start, we're not going to be felting quite as long, which is nice. You can see that right there. Please bear with me. My first time working in front of the camera with just the hands showing. Okay, you can see it's staying, but not 100%. We got a couple more little pokes here. And all we're doing right now is working on the core of the egg. And this is okay right now because I'm going to make it thicker in the middle. So I'm going to take another piece. And I'm going to just put that down there. And I'm going to continue to wrap the center, and we're going to build it up. Okay, there's that fuzzy end. I'm going to fold it down. I'm going to hold it, and I'm going to poke. Holding that down and poking. Stretching that loose wool over and poking. Okay, so you can see it's starting to hold together. I'm going to do more in the middle. And we're going to roll again. You know, do as tight as you can. My tablecloth is slipping. No big deal. All right. And then here's the end, close to the end. Again, watching your fingers. Now, as you're poking, by the way, you're not trying to poke all the way into the mat. You're just poking into the wool to get the wool to attach itself on the inside of the core here. So you're not trying to go all the way into the mat. The mat's there for the protection of your table, basically. Okay. All right, now we're starting to hold together. Now it's a bit on the long side here. So I'm going to poke the ends in. You see that? Okay. Poking in the ends, and be careful that you don't poke into your fingers. Definitely don't want to do this and watch TV. If you are an advanced felter and you have trained yourself to sit in front of the TV, basically listening, and then know to stop felting if you're going to look up at the TV screen, then fine. Otherwise, I really don't recommend it. This is not something to do while you're trying to pay attention to a TV show or a movie. All right, so I'm getting the ends in there a little bit. All right, so you can see we're getting a little closer. I'm gonna squeeze that in a little bit here. Let's think, do I want to put another in the middle? I'm just gonna finish wrapping this right here. That last little flap down and felt. And somebody's revving up their motorcycle. I hope you don't hear it, but whatever. Okay, so felting away at the ends. I want it a little bit shorter. Let's do this end. Think egg shape. You see we're getting more like the shape of an egg. Okay, so you're gonna keep felting, and I have one that I've worked on. It's a little bit of a smaller one, but I'm going to show you how the difference is when you've spent some time felting. It's got a little bit of give, but it's fairly firm in the middle. So it's got a little bit of squeeze, and we've smoothed it down. Let me show you what I did to smooth down. I'm going to go back to this one. Forgot to tell you about this wonderful tool. This one has, I don't remember if it has 3 or 4. Let's see. It's got 3 needles in it right now. Can't remember if this is a 3 or 4 needle, but I've put finishing needles in here. So when I'm ready to do the outside, okay, first of all, we're getting the inside felted. Okay, so that's what this needle is. This is to get the dense felting on the inside. And when we've got our shape pretty much where we want, and it's getting firmer, this tool helps us speed through the outside process. And this outer layer that's really soft, this will help get that nice and firm. Okay, so that's, you know, you can do it with one needle, absolutely, but hey, if you can, this tool's great. Okay, so we have felted this egg down, and we end up with this. Alrighty, so now I'm going to lay some color on this egg. For some reason, I'm in the mood for this beautiful green. And oh, by the way, your needles. Keep them out of the way or you might break them all. I'm going to put this back in my needle holder here, out of sight. And I'm going to keep, if I'm working using, let's say, this needle, I will put it out of the way, but in the mat. Okay. Now, let's see. We don't need it uber thick, but we're going to, you can do it this way and fold, or this way. I'm going to go ahead and do it this way. Side. And I'm going to fold over some of my color here. Tack it down a little bit. And then I see that I'm probably going to end it right about there. So we're just going to gently pull. There we go. Actually, we're going to keep wrapping, so it's okay if you have extra. It's kind of thin. All right, so let's keep wrapping, shall we? Wrapping our egg. And tacking it down. Now you can see that the ends have this extra bulk. That's fine. I'm going to just tuck it in. When you're all done, it's going to be nice and smooth if you've felt it enough, and nobody will know the difference. You are sculpting with wool. That's what you are doing here. Okay. You can see that end. Now see this end sticking out? We're going to tack that down. pretty darn easy. And do a little tacking down all over here. We will see if we have any gaps where we need to add another piece. So I'm just going to do some tacking all over. And it's still loose enough I can move. So I'm going to move some, cover that little spot here by moving my wool. Okay, now not too bad, but there's a thin spot here. So I'll take another piece. I'm just gonna, actually I'm gonna spread it out. It's a little bit thin here. I'll spread it out, lay it over. See how I'm doing that? Tack it in. Rolling it, spreading it out. Okay, and then this piece here, folding that in this direction. Tacking it down. All right. This is the unfinished color. So we're going to stop for a minute and I'm going to go ahead and felt this and come back and show you what it's like when it's ready to add more color. Okay, we're back. Now I felted this egg quite a bit, but it's still not completely finished. We don't want to do that quite yet. But it's fairly smooth. Now we have to decide, do we want to add color or like this egg here? Pink, we added some blue and some green strips, and then I embroidered it. This is not a beginner's project, but this is just an example. And I've decided that I'm going to add, well, attempt to add this trim here. Now, one thing about when you get something braided, it unbraids. So what I did is I cut the piece and I used fray check on the ends to hopefully keep it from, you know, getting any worse. You don't have to, of course, use something like this, but I thought, hey, it's got the gold, want it to look a little ritzy. I don't even know if you can see that. Little gold flecks. But I'm going to give this a whirl. But before I do, I'm just going to use Coral to show you what you can do if you wanted to just add another color to your egg. You could simply take a little piece of wool, make a little, you can roll it into a little shape, you can just make a little curl, you can do anything you want, and then just use your needle, your finishing needle, and just felt it into the shape you want, whatever that might be. Little swirl, or let me see if I roll this a little bit here. A little swirl or something like that. So just so you know, that's pretty simple. So I forgot to say, if you are going to sew something, you're going to need a needle and thread here. And I just pulled my thread out. This is our doll needle because we need it big enough to go through the entire egg, if possible here. Let me tie my knot here. And I have the wrong glasses on. Ooh. Here we go. Now I can see. Okay. So I'd already cut a piece, And I think I want to go around my egg a little bit close to the top there. So it's not actually quite centered. So I'm going to do that, and what I'm going to do, take my needle. Now for this actual part, you don't have to have such a big needle, because I'm going to just sew these pieces together, but I'm also going to go into my wool, kind of underneath, just to hide it. Listen, if it shows, you know what, you can add a piece of wool on it. It's not a big deal. But I'm going to go kind of underneath, see if I can even do this. Ooh, it's unraveling. I don't know, guys. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm going to try it. I might take it out. I always have to pick the thing that's a little bit more complicated. Let's see if I can get through one of these little braids and attach this baby. Ooh. You can see. Now, I'm going to be putting something over this, so I'm not totally concerned, but let's just see how well I can do this. It's getting all messed up. Well, that's what it would be looking like. I'm gonna keep going. I'm determined here. My suggestion, don't use a braid. Okay. All right, not too bad. And a couple more stitches. And I'm going to just tie a knot. Alright, so let's kind of line that up. Okay, you can see that trim, and here's the edge. Now that's going to be covered in a second. So I'm going to tack this down as well, right in the front. Just going to go kind of under the braid and just go right back down, and then pull my needle through and tie another knot. So it just sort of tacks it in there. Okay, you can't even see it. Tiny, tiny bit of string here. There we go. Okay, so that's tacked. Okay, now I need more thread. So I have another strip going, we're going to go the other direction. I hope you are having a good day today, everybody. It is rainy and wet here. I guess it's one of the wettest winters of Oregon. Where are we? South. What part of Oregon are we? I always forget. Anyway, it's been wet. All right, so I'm going to take my strip, my next one. This is going to go lengthways here. And I'm going to fasten this one underneath my egg so that you can't see it. But as I do this, I'm going to cover, see that little spot right there? I'm going to cover it with the braid. Okay, that should do it right there. Not perfect, but I think it's going to work. So I'm going to once again kind of go underneath, go into the egg and underneath my braid right there. And again, guys, if this is too much on the sewing, you just don't have to do it. So we will, you know, we'll put a little felted something in here so you can see how to do that. But just in case you wanted to braid, put a braid or a trim, I want you to see how to do that. So I'm going back in again. I'm just going to come up. Doesn't really matter where. Just come up to the side, no one's going to see it. Go back into the braid. I'm going to go back into that middle spot where it's kind of messed up looking and try to sew that down a little, since my thread is pretty close to the color. So you can see what I'm doing there, I hope. And I'm going to try to clean this up a little bit with a sewing stitch here and there. That's the problem with braid. It just doesn't want to stay together. We may drop a bit of glue on that later. Let's see. I'll pull it together with one more stitch. Come up through the braid. Yeah, not too bad. Tie a little knot here. Okay. Now, that would be the back of my egg. See that little bulge right there? I would say that's the back of the egg. And now we're going to sew this bottom part in. Okay. So I'm going to do that, and then I will come back. Now I'm going to show you, I've sewed the bottom, and this is how it looks with the trim. But being super, I don't know, meticulous, I don't like it. But this is very me to do something like this. So I'm going to take it off, which is going to show you that you can change your mind halfway through. I think the trim is pretty. I personally would recommend, again, probably don't use a braid, just because if you want it super clean. Now, this might be fine for somebody, because it doesn't look bad, but I don't like it like this. So, guess who's going to take this apart? And I'm going to show you that. You can take something apart on your wool egg. I'm going to snip some of the knots where I sewed it under here. And I'm going to change my mind. And we are going to felt some more on our egg. But this is an example. I would use just a plain ribbon. If I was going to do this, I would use a plain ribbon. That doesn't come apart. Okay, so I've got my threads in here. I'm going to pull them out. Loosen some of the wool, which I'm going to just refelt for a few seconds. Not a big deal. Cutting some more thread, and this is pretty much how I work. I say, not quite exactly what I had in mind, and I didn't, you know, pre-make this egg in advance. I just thought, let's just go for it. And we are. So, almost there, a few final threads. Pull those babies out. And now, I'm going to go back to my felting needle, and I'm just going to, see that? Quickly felt it back down. Not a big deal. And we were just now going to add some color. And again, wrong glasses. It's good to see when you're felting. It really is. Okay. Smoothing that. By the way, your foam. To clean your felting foam, you want a good kind of a packing tape actually works. And I'm gonna get a piece of that right now. It's not particularly dirty, but just to show you. You can get a lot of the, let's say you're working with core wool, you got a bunch of leftover core wool on here, and now you're gonna do a color and you don't want, you know, that to mix in there, little fibers to mix in there. It actually does a pretty darn good job. And not too shabby. Okay, let's add some beautiful lavender to our hunter green. I have no idea what I'm doing. Let's just do something. How about some little swirlies? So let's take a finishing needle here. I have to get used to the camera here. And I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to go for it. And I'm going to start poking in. See how I'm doing that? Let me get over here a little bit. Kind of thinning that. Using my needle to sort of guide the wool. So I'm doing that. I'm going to kind of swirl this around here. And if I feel like I have too much, just real gently just hold on to this here and pull some of it off. Not a big deal. So I'm just going to make a swirl. Okay, so that just shows you that's something you can do, but that's actually not what I want to do. Yeah, it's true. I want to do some of what I did here. So, I'm going to start close to the bottom. I'm going to pause for a second because I don't know if my camera's losing battery, so hold your horses. Okay, welcome back. We, let's see, what do we have? We have dogs eating in the background, so you may hear some noise. Bulls scuffing about. So I've added my lavender little kind of leaf trim looking right there. And I want to show you a finishing stitch with your finishing needle. If you don't happen to have this needle, which I love to just go over with my several needle tool, and again full of finishing needles, you can take your finishing needle, and you don't want to poke straight in, but you want to poke kind of at a little angle like this. Better to do this on the phone, but I'm just going to show you. And it will help you smooth out your wool. So if you see any little places that are poofy or uneven, just at an angle like that. And you can turn it around and go back the other direction. And you'll want to do that. I mean, depending on how, you know, refined and smooth you want it, you'll want to do this till you feel done. Okay, so that's that one tip, and then the other one with very sharp scissors. You know, if you look closely at your egg, you will see bits of fuzz, and you can simply trim away excess fuzz according to however you like it. So I'll be working on that a bit, and then I'm going to add some beads. So I'm going to take my 3-inch needle here. Oh gosh, let's see. Okay, cool. I thought I'd got a nice big knot right in the middle. It's a little bit long. Right, 3-inch needle. I'm going to come up through the bottom. And I'm going to, because I'm going to cover it with a little bit of wool later, no one's even going to see it. And I want to put a bead at the end of each point. So I'm going to maneuver the needle right there. Actually, just a tad over. And I'm going to add a gold bead. If I can see, there it is. Add a bead. And I'm going to go back down, pretty much in the same spot, and put the needle up to the next point. Okay? Let's do that. Nice. Let's do another one. Okay, number 2. Then we're going to put the needle again back into the same place and go to our next spot where we want the next bead. Hence the 3-inch needle. Okay. So I'm going to be doing that until I am done, and then we will get back and look at our finished project. And fini. The Faux Faberge egg. By the way, I put a few beads on the bottom, so this will actually stand up. Well, I would love to see your project. If you go to my Facebook page, Celebrate Creating with Catherine, join my club, and then you can post videos. I can see what you've done. We can encourage each other. I hope you join the club, and I'd love to hear from you on my YouTube channel. Have a great day.